fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right. Welcome back to From 8 Arbitration, the Sunday edition. Back on Sunday. That's where it needs to be, right? On Sunday, that way you can listen to it on Monday where you're out there delivering Monday's mail, doing the Lord's work. And so back on Sunday. Got a long episode, a lot of reading. I apologize in advance. I hate reading. Y'all know how I feel about that. But there's a lot of stuff we're going to cover, and it's only a couple of topics. But it's a couple of things I saw online on social media, and we're going to address it. One of them is very good. We got management. They put up the wrong thing, and so we're going to bust their ass. And so we'll cover that, and then there's another thing. A few other things, got some shout-outs, but back to education, which is what I want. I'd much rather do that than bitch all the time, but right now it calls for it, right? It calls for it because we're such failures as far as our leadership. But hey, did y'all see, finally, your union leader was being presidential? I said, hey, if you'll keep being like this, he was thundering down, had thunder in his voice, was very direct, matter of fact about what's going to happen. And so I was extremely impressed. And I said, hey, you keep being like this, I can vote for that. And so, did y'all see your president doing that? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It wasn't him. It was James Henry in Pittsburgh and Chicago. And so, your president was on another podcast, NAPS, National Association of Postal Supervisors. That's where your president was last week. He was on a podcast with our enemy, NAPS. And so, yeah, James was in Pittsburgh, Branch 84, doing what he does, thundering down. I love listening to that man speak, his vision, his mind. It's unequaled. And then Friday we went to Branch 11, and that's in Chicago, and talked to their retirees. They had a retirees luncheon, and they called and asked us to come. Very excited. And so, yeah, that was very inspirational. A lot of fantastic individuals there, as well as Branch 84 in Pittsburgh when we went up there Thursday. So, had a great week. But, yeah, your president, he didn't do that. I know y'all thinking, Corey's done lost his damn mind. Y'all don't ever have to worry about me saying anything good about that bastard. He's terrible. But, yeah, he was on NAP's podcast, Postal Supervisors. Now, that's our enemy. And I know people are saying, hey, if they're going against whatever, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I heard somebody say, bullshit. Bullshit. They're not our friend. They will never be our friends. Now, they may fight for the same thing, but they're not our friends. Those are the same people. If y'all remember, I had that podcast where I did that hearing down in Mississippi where the manager threatened to shoot and kill a city letter carrier. And I had the audio of it. He lied to the postal inspectors, got caught. And then NAPS gets with management, the district manager, and they reduce a removal. That's all a facade when they issue their own selves discipline. It's a facade. It's a ruse. It's a guise. And so he goes to the district manager, and she reduces the removal to a letter of warning for somebody threatening to shoot and kill us. That's NAPS. That's the winks and nods of the joint statement. When you have somebody that's removed and then it goes to the district manager and they bring them back on a letter of warning. That's the winks and nods of it all. But that's NAPS. They are the ones who protect these sorry bastards we go against every day on this workroom floor. So they're not our friends. The generals, they may have called a truce, but the fighters, the soldiers, the warriors, we're still fighting down here. So there's no truce down here on the workroom floor. But yeah, your president was with NAPS last week. They were sitting at the dinner table drinking tea with their pinkies raised while we're still down here on the floor fighting. Okay, so yeah, the only one who's presidential is James Henry. That's the reason he's going to win. But, you know, listening to him speak, thunder down on the stuff, man, his vision, his plan is it's impressive. It's impressive. And like I've said, You got James focused on winning, and everybody else focused on James. And that's the position you want to be in. That's the position you want to be in. But yeah, he was amazing, always is. But Branch 84 Pittsburgh, thank y'all so much for having us. We had a fantastic time up there, spreading the word. And then Branch 11, the retirees, when we went there, is another fantastic time, some fantastic food. And so, yeah, it's been a great damn week. Really good week. But no, your president, he wasn't presidential. He was with the enemy, drinking tea with his pinky raised, scoffing at us, laughing at us. But I don't want to hear shit about the enemy, and my enemy is my friend when we're talking about postal management. They're never going to be my friend. Never. Okay? So, yeah. Got some shout-outs. Couple of them. Here's one. Please extend a very special shout-out to a future dog of war, Robbie Pugh. Pronounced Pew. Of Bridgsea, they did that because they know I screw up names all the time. That's the reason they did that. So they're trying to help me out. So it's pronounced Pew of Bridge City Branch 323. Brother Pew is currently a city letter carrier in Winamac, Indiana, and is the new steward there as well. He just transferred into that office in the past 3 months. To give you some insight into what kind of carrier, and more importantly, what kind of human being Robbie is, this is a dude who moved from his previous installation in Monticello, Indiana, away from co-workers he considered family and a delivery route that he really loved, and transferred out to a tiny post office with only 2 city routes, but has been a disastrous place for working conditions. The lone positive of the move was it was his hometown and close to home via an hour drive one way to the previous installation in Monticello. Robbie did this for 2 reasons. We needed to move up on our part-time carriers to full-time because they were improperly being forced to a larger city office on Sunday to deliver Amazon. By Robbie transferring up to this smaller station, that allowed the part-timer to move up to regular and avoid being sent to the larger office until we finally won a resolution to grievances that we had been waiting for an answer on for months. Robbie, upon his arrival to the new office, immediately stepped up and stepped in as my steward at the new location, a place that has had no leadership or support from the union until I agreed to acquire that group into Branch 323, of which I'm president. But without a carrier willing to tackle the duties of a steward on the floor, carriers under constant harassment, and didn't know the full extent of contractual rights without calling me. Now they have immediate access to a carrier who can help them on the spot. Until the Winamac installation and the 3 city carriers assigned to it came into Branch 323, they were constantly and consistently faced with an incredibly horrid postmaster and no training on how to do their job except via his instruction. And that goes back to what I said. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Bullshit. This is what we deal with every day. They're not our friends. I'm not going to sit at a table and drink tea with my pinky raised with these bastards. They're not our friends. They can go to Congress and Senate just like we can. I'm not going to sit down on a podcast with those rotten bastards. So, anyway, this is the same postmaster that put new CCAs in the back of a ProMaster to train to learn a new route. And oh, by the way, they had to sit on an inverted trash can while doing so. I wonder if Renfro asked those bastards about that on the Naps podcast, or about the falsification of hip training. Wonder if they talked about that. What about these scanner messages? What about the stationary events? All the shit they've done to beat the shit out of us. Wonder if he brought that up to them, or if he was kissing their ass knowing that in just a few months he's going to be over there with them when we beat that ass. Hell, I didn't know this shout out was going to make me angry. But damn it. Here we go. This postmaster, with over 25 years in management, thought that was okay, and during my investigation, I had found the PM did this to 3 different carriers. My grievance went out immediately. Winamac management refused to agree with my remedies, and it went to Step B in Indianapolis, who also refused my remedies and sent back a watered-down resolution of retraining for a postmaster with over 500 hours of training already, which all was documented in my grievance file. So our union DRT, not considering the health and safety risk of city carrier lives and health, was absolutely devastating to me. Safety is priority number one. Evidently not in Region 6. That's okay. That's going to be taken care of when Walt takes over that region. What made it even worse was when the two RAAs for her region, Region 6, tried to convince me it was a good resolution because it was the postmaster's first offense. First offense of putting our carriers' lives at risk. It was just the first offense. Well, I wonder if that'll be okay if it's us doing that to management, going in there and putting their lives at risk. Wonder if that'll be okay. Wonder if we'll get just some retraining. The double standard of this shit. Hell, I wish I would have known this was gonna piss me off like that. I'm trying to let me get this shout out of the way for this kid. This came after the same postmaster agreed to a cease and desist when he refused to take care of mold growing in the building for months, which was making carriers sick, and not having PS Form 1767s available, none anywhere in the building, anywhere, for carriers to fill out. I advised the POOMs to send over 1767s immediately, which did happen. That's the type of installation Robbie agreed to transfer into and handle for us as a brand new steward. He finalized his first two grievances against management, a violation of 1.6 and a failure to respond to a RFI submission in a timely manner. He and the local manager agreed to a cease and desist at the local level. We also held a labor management meeting recently, so both the frontline supervisor and the temporary OIC both know Robbie isn't to be trifled with, even though he's a new carrier to that office. So would you please send a huge shout out to a serious union supporter, as was his mom before him, also a city letter carrier and union activist. And let Robbie know the NELC membership is grateful beyond words that he has stepped up and become another member we can truly count on to protect our membership. And a second shout out to Sister Amy Tyvan, who spends countless hours on grievances for Monticello, but also has helped Robbie getting up to speed on grievance work in his early career as a steward. Thanks very much. Rick McLaughlin, President, Bridge City Branch 323. And so, absolutely, I'll give a shout out to my man. Absolutely. Stepping into that situation. I told a story the other day about being fearless and ready for everything. And that's what that is. We need stewards that are fearless and ready for everything, prepared for everything. And that's going to be kind of the mantra. That's kind of going to be the MO of the CLC. We're going to be fearless in everything that we do. And we're going to be prepared for everything. And so there's your fantastic shout out right there. A fantastic shout out. All right, I'm going to get to these two things. I'm telling you this is going to be long, and I apologize. There's another thing, another shout out. This is a rural carrier page on Facebook. Okay? Rural Carrier Protection and Accountability Alliance. It's a Facebook page. Everybody get on there and follow them. Rural Carrier Protection and Accountability Alliance. Now, these people are proactive as far as going to Congress and going to the Senate. And they're putting a lot of things out. We need more days of action where we talk about the position of the Postal Service. Right? Bring awareness to what's really happening. So, Rural Carrier Protection and Accountability Alliance. If you're militant and you want to get involved, you're like, how can I get involved? This is one way. Rural Carrier Protection and Accountability Alliance. It's going to take all of us, to get this done. When we take over, we're going to hit the ground running, and this is going to be one of the things that we're going to put a priority on, right? Is making people aware of who we are as a craft and attention to what's really happening here. And so, Rural Carrier Protection and Accountability Alliance. Now, here's another thing. A young lady sent me this, and she said everybody can contact. It's Congressman Kwasi Mfume. I hope I said that right. Congressman Kwasi Mfume. I don't care who you vote for. I don't give a damn who you vote for, who you like, who you hate. If somebody's wanting to step up and help us, I'm for you. Okay? Everybody needs to be that way. Everybody. So she says that she's contacting him. She needs everybody to contact him because he is getting involved. It's Congressman Kweisi Mfume. Here's a number. 202-225-4741. 202-225-4741. Contact him and tell him what's going on at the post office, about the grievances lost, about all the money, about management, mismanagement. We've got to bring attention to that. Our clown-ass president is not going to do it. He's not going to sit there and do that and then get on a Naps podcast with those bastards. So, it's Kweisi Mfume, Congressman Kweisi Mfume. 202-225-4741. Again, doesn't matter who you vote for. Don't care. I need fighters. Period. I need fighters, street fighters. The only way we're going to win this thing is if everybody is together. There's too many people trying to divide us through whatever. Race, gender, political party. Don't do that shit. We're way past that. Way past that shit. We have got to be one. We need 100% of us on the same path to do what we need to do. Especially when we take over. Especially when we take over next year, which we will. We're going to win this thing in a landslide. But we're going to need everybody on the same page. There's going to be no more of this division. Everybody's going to feel important and know that you're important, okay? And so there's your another contact. And I'll put out more, okay? I'll put out, if somebody's willing to listen, we're going to go to them, okay? And we should have been doing that. We should have been doing that shit. My president, still I haven't seen the motherfucker out on anything. I'm not going to get into that. I did that last week. But anyway, so there's that. A lot of people were sending me things this week talking about when I said, look, the dire straits of the Postal Service, the financial position of the Postal Service, everybody knows about it. Everybody's seen it. We've been drugged through there by this Postmaster General. He has drugged us through the mud, made us look like fools. The city letter carrier is going to catch the brunt of it. That's just the way it is. They will not correct themselves. They're not going to go after themselves. They're just not going to do it. Matter of fact, they're still having job fairs. So they're going to keep bloating themselves, if you will, as far as their numbers. They're going to keep adding on to management. They're just going to do that. Any profits they're going to suck up through more management. They will not look at themselves. What they're going to do is they're going to beat the shit out of us. They will beat the shit out of us. Had somebody message me, said that they had a route count. So the route count team told me we don't get any credit for the PMCFS. I went to fuck off. I truly believe if you were here, you would have told me to calm down. All day long they've been screaming carriers and had the audacity to say they have never given carriers credit for that anywhere they've been. So you have these teams coming in, these route count inspection teams. They're given no credit for PM office time. No credit. Do you know why they're doing that? Because they don't care about grievances. They don't. I said this a long time ago when they started the 6-day counts back up. Headquarters is telling local what to do. And they're using DSR data. That's based off of TRAP, off of scanner data. They're using that. And they're going to tell them, look, use my station, for instance, Belmead. Going to Belmead, this DSR data, our data shows that you can take out 4 routes. It doesn't matter what you do during the 6-day count. They don't care. They're going to take those routes out. They just are. You can grieve it. They don't care about that. They want bodies. They want routes. A route is a carrier. Okay? So that's what they want. So they're coming in, crushing us on these 6-day counts because they don't care about the grievance. Grievance will sit there for a year. They're making tons of money. And they're showing a reduction in our workforce. What they're not showing is a reduction in their workforce. Maybe our president was talking to Naps about that when he was on there kissing their ass this past week. But you will see this more and more. We're going to take the brunt of this. Management saying that we're broke. Okay? Here's another thing. Just want to let you know that you are spot on about the potential attack on city letter carriers. We had a team come into our station yesterday saying that they were here to scrutinize the letter carrier's office times and street times because the post office is running out of money. He even said that they expect to lose money on rural deliveries as they have to drive 300 miles to deliver one package. Said that everything goes downhill and we're at the bottom. It looks to me like everything you predicted about the attack on the city letter carriers has started. And it has. It has started. Now, what do? We've got to educate ourselves light blue. Okay? All these podcasts coming out educating us. We have got to educate ourselves because we are the only ones fighting for us. And we will fight down here. All right? We will. I said I'm not on here to make friends. I'm on here to make warriors. That's years ago when I started. When I started losing friends because of this podcast. I'm not on here to make friends. I'm not on here to make friends. I don't need any. I'm on here to make warriors. Why? Because light blue needs warriors. This is why. Post office says they're going broke. We're going to catch the brunt of it. What do? You strap the fuck up and let's go. Right? Remember all those times? A couple years ago I said, gird up your fucking loins. I was going crazy. Gird up your loins and let's fucking go. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. We're going to have to stand up, light blue. We are. And we're going to have to fight this together until the CLC can take over, until James Henry can get in there and set Paul Bollinger loose as the director of education and get these things going. The communication from the MBAs to the branch presidents to the shop stewards to the light blue. Okay? We're the only one doing constant training. The only ones. People online saying they don't do training. We're the only ones doing training. We're the only ones that have an emphasis on education. We're the only ones that have an emphasis on the toxic working environment on the working floor. The only ones. And so, yes, I agree. We're going to catch the brunt of it. All right, here's another thing. Okay, so if the manager puts me on 1017B citing stationary time, because you can't just sit out there in quotation marks. The grievance, talking about what grievance can he file. Wants a 115.4 and stuff like that. The manager is putting him on 1017B citing stationary time because you can't just sit out there. And so that's a violation of 134 of the M39 handbook. Okay, so when we file a grievance, we're going to state that management violated Section 134 of the M39 Handbook via Article 19 of the National Agreement when they placed to carry on 1017B log citing stationary time. I'm going to ask for the 4584s. Okay? On my information request, I'm going to ask for the 4584s. When did you go out there and see me to put me on a 1017B for just sitting there? Okay? I need the II that you performed. Just sitting there. Okay, so if I've got a 3996, it's approved, and I was out there, and they put me on a 1017B, I'm going to file the grievance under Section 134 of the M39 Handbook. Spying and using covert techniques. We should have dealt with this. I talked about this last week. I'm not going to get into it again. This is one of the things we should have dealt with. The stationary times, the scanners, them using the scanners. Again, when you had the metric come out on stationary events, they're basing that off of 1983. We should have taken this to national arbitration about Section 134 of the M39 Handbook. We're the only ones that have language that protect us. Management does not have any language that protects them for spying on us and using covert techniques, for sitting in the office watching us on the street. They have nothing that protects them. Article 3 doesn't, because they have to go under the contract and all these handbooks and manuals and all this shit. So they have nothing that protects them. We do. Section 134 in the M39 handbook. We should have taken that to national arbitration when they started with the stationary events. Because if we lose, we don't lose anything. They're already doing it. I've not lost. They're going to say they can do it. Okay, well, they already are. Okay, then you go back, fall back on the step 4 that says you can't be disciplined solely for GPS data. Okay, but we should have taken this to national arbitration because they're already doing it. But here's what happens when you don't. You got managers, the ones that he's sitting with, your president's sitting with on Knapp's podcast with, putting my carriers on a 1017B log for stationary time. Okay? So I wonder if he asked Knapp's that when he was on the podcast. I wonder if he asked them that, if they're doing that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That just doesn't equate, right? That doesn't translate here. They will never be our friends. They will always be our enemies. But anyway, that's how I'd beat that. A lot of people talk about 3996, blah, 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 blah. They're saying that they put him on the 1017B citing stationary time. That goes back to 134 of the M39 handbook. I'm going to ask for all the 4584s, okay? My postmaster was telling me today they're going to have to start using DOIS April 11th. Anyone know about this? Now, that's kind of confusing because they already use DOIS as a tool, okay? But if they're using DOIS as the sole determinant of a carrier's leave time, if that's what you're talking about, I'm going to get into that. Okay, that's going along with what I'm fixing to get into, but you'll have the step 4s that we're going to use. M1664. If they're talking about they're going to start using DOIS to project our leave times and return times, if that's what they're talking about, M1664 is what you need. I'm going to read this again. My postmaster was telling me today that they're going to have to start using DOIS April 11th. Now, they use DOIS every day. Okay, that's how they put things into the computers, DOIS. But they cannot project our leave times or our return times based off of DOIS. If that's what they're going to do starting April 11th, that's a violation of M1664 and M1769. I'll read this, but I'm going to read it again later. The Delivery Operations Information System, DOIS, is a management tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload. The use of DOIS does not change the letter carrier's reporting requirements outlined in Section 131.4 of the Handbook M41. The supervisor's scheduling responsibilities outlined in Section 122 of Handbook M39, or the letter carrier's and supervisor's responsibilities contained in Section 28 of Handbook M41. DOIS projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time. Okay? So if that's what he's talking about, that's all you need right there, M1664. DOIS projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. Okay? You got M1769. The Subject Office Efficiency Tool is a management tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload. The Office Efficiency Tool in the Greater Indiana District or any similar time projection system tool will not be used as a sole determinant for establishing office or street time projections. All right? That's M1769. So for the person who wrote that their postmaster is starting to use DOIS April 11th, that's all you need. Via Article 19, M1664, M1769. Can't do it. Now here's another thing that somebody put out. It says, so they changed their office time. The grievance is still in the process. So today, we were told if office times don't improve, they will move them again. Read that again. So they changed their office time. The grievance is still in the process. So today we were told if office times don't improve, they will move them again. Now that's a threat, okay? Now remember, JSOV is hard to prove, and I'm going to get into this and this other thing I'm fixing to talk about. But making the numbers is not the excuse for the abuse of anyone. Okay? So you move my start times, I agreed it. You come out and you tell me if my office times don't improve, they'll move them again. So here's what I'm going to need. I'm going to need a copy of all the 1838Cs done in the office over the last month. Okay? I'll go back a month. All right? So when you talk about changing our start times if they don't improve, I'm going to need you to put in an information request for all of the 1838Cs done in the last month. Why? Because I'm going to show that you've not done the first damn thing as far as efficiency count to prove your position that my office time hadn't improved. Based off of what? You've not done an efficiency count. You're basing that on a linear measurement. That's DOAS. Okay? So, I'm going to need the 1838C. We're going to talk about M39 Handbook 141.2 Special Office Mail Counts. M39 Section 141.2 Special Office Mail Counts. When management desires to determine the efficiency of a carrier in the office, a count of mail may be made. The carrier must be given 1 day's advance notification of this special count. You're going to look at M0005. M0005. The matter presented as well as the applicable contractual provisions have been reviewed and given careful consideration. The grievance mail was not counted to determine their efficiency in this instance. Data from the counts were not, nor will they be used as a basis for disciplinary action. Consequently, the grievance case is considered to be closed. So that one's going to go hand in hand with what we're talking about. The grievance mail was not counted to determine their efficiency in this instance. Because if you're talking about you're threatening me with moving my office time, if my office time doesn't improve, you've not done an efficiency count. You don't know if I'm being efficient or not to justify moving our start times based off of my office time not improving. Based off of what? It's based off of linear measurement. And you can't do that. That's DOAS. M00385. M00385. It is acknowledged that the proper stipulated manner for determining the efficiency of an employee and whether or not the employee is in fact meeting standards is to conduct a 1-day count as provided in Handbook M39 and M41. Under the circumstances presented in this case, it is not shown that such a formal approach was necessary or that management has seriously questioned the efficiency of the grievance. You'll also need that one. Okay? M00385 talks about the 1-day count, efficiency count. M1444. M1444 states in part, however, daily counts recorded in accordance with these procedures may be used by the parties in conjunction with other management records and procedures to support or refute any performance-related discipline. Now, we're not talking about discipline, but it talks about DOAS, and it says daily counts recorded in accordance with these procedures may be used by the parties in conjunction with other management records. Daily counts. That's what we're talking about. 1838C. Okay? 1838C. We're going to request all the 1838Cs done in the last month. And when it shows that they've not done a 1, then we're going to put that in our grievance, our start time grievance. If you want to file a JSOV saying that management is intimidating, threatening y'all, you're going to use the line out of the JSOV, making the numbers is not the excuse for the abuse of anyone. Okay? Making the numbers, that's what this is. So today we were told if our office times don't improve, they will move them again. That's a threat. That's a threat from supervisors. That's where your president was last week on their podcast, right? Another person sent me this on the whiteboard. Root cause improvements. 45 minutes office. It's in red. 45 minutes office. Okay? Now you heard the hour office time, 45 minutes office time. You had the 30 minutes. The guy said that if they weren't pulled down before their first break, which was 30 minutes, then they'd get an investigative interview. That's trying to scare you. That's trying to scare your office, right, into pulling down within 30 minutes. It's a threat. And if it goes unaddressed, if your business agent, like my clown-ass business agent said, well, as long as they're not disciplining people. Well, sometimes you just threaten discipline and carriers will fall in line because they don't want to be disciplined. So you have to address the threat or the toxic working environment. So when you say, well, as long as they're not disciplining you, then everything's okay. But once they discipline you, then we'll address it. No, sir. No, that's not what you do. If they're causing a hostile working environment, a stressful working environment, because carriers don't want to be disciplined, so therefore they are rushing and pulling down in 30 minutes. They're skipping their office breaks. They're not using the restroom. They're not doing things they're supposed to do as far as vehicle checks. When they do that, they've won. And they will never have to issue discipline ever. Why? Because the threat of discipline is all it takes in a lot of stations. A lot of carriers, you've got smaller 3 or 4 carriers on the station, none of them want to be the example. So what are they going to do? They're just going to skip everything. They're going to come straight in, stick all their mail, and run out. You've got to grieve these things. Okay? Anybody saying as long as you don't have discipline, bullshit. Bullshit. You've got to go after management. They are not our friends. We will not sit down with them on podcast and talk about shit, having tea and crumpets with these bastards. We're just not. So 45 minutes office time. Here's one that we got them. Here's one that we got them, and this is where I'm going to take all my time on this episode. Goal for office time is 45 minutes. Now, they said goal. Okay, that's how they're going to try to get out of everything. That's how they try to get out of it here in Nashville, but we got them. It's just a goal. It's just a goal. No. This is what a target is, okay? Goal for office time is 45 minutes. Now, here's the type of shit that they do, okay? Here's the type of shit that they do. When I tell you that management, everywhere I go, I tell you, management does what? They steal, they lie, they falsify everything. It's all they know how to do. They will steal, cheat, lie. That's who they are. That's management. Period. They will never change. Especially now, since they say they're going to break. Watch the amount of cheating and falsification that's fixing to happen because of them saying that they're losing money or going broke. We're fixing to find a staggering amount of falsification and cheating and lying. Here's an example. Goal for office time is 45 minutes. Now remember, we've got 33 minutes of fixed office time. 33 minutes of fixed office time. That has not changed. We've got 43 with a break. That has not changed. 45 minutes of fixed office time. Now, they can never take this to arbitration because when you ask them in front of an arbitrator, now, is that taking into account 33 minutes of fixed office time? We'll already have the documentation ready to show the arbitrator that we do still have a 33 minutes fixed office time, regardless of what our dumbass president came into an agreement with on a joint process of 20 minutes. That's not in effect here. When you ask them in arbitration, does this take into account the carrier's 33 minutes of fixed office time? It doesn't matter how they answer it. Well, no, it doesn't. Okay, well then how do you have 45 minutes if it doesn't take into account 33 minutes of fixed office time? If they say, yes, it does. So you're telling me that the carrier has 12 minutes to stick their mail? Is that what you're telling me? Because you got 45 minutes office time here, and you got 33 minutes of fixed office time. So it doesn't matter how they answer the question, okay? Does your route have 2 feet of letters and 3 feet of flats to case today? Now, this is the letter that they put up. Does your route have 2 feet of letters and 3 feet of flats to case today. Now here's the lie. 2 feet of letters equals 313 pieces. Now that's linear measurement count, right? That's the reason that goes into DOAS right there. That's the reason we don't take DOAS into consideration, because it's a linear measurement. It's not an exact piece count. That's the reason we always say to gauge our efficiency, you have to do a piece count, 1838C, okay? Linear measurement is how they measure your mail every day. They come out and they say, well, you got 2 feet, however much that is. They're going to put that into DOAS, and it's going to tell them a projected leave time, okay? It's not exact. That's the reason we have these step 4s to protect us. 2 feet of letters equals 313 pieces. Is that right? Does anybody know the linear measurement piece count? 1 foot of letters is 227 pieces. That's the linear measurement piece count. 2 feet of letters is 454 pieces. 2 feet of letters, 454 pieces. Let's see what management wrote down. 2 feet of letters is 313 pieces. So they have stolen. You got 454 for 2 feet. Theirs is 313. That's how much they stole. Okay? Or 17 minutes and 20 seconds. So they're trying to make their 45 minutes by falsifying this. Okay? They're trying to squeeze in their 45 minutes of office time by lying to us. That's who they are. So they say 2 feet of letters are 313 pieces. It's not. It's 454. Or 17 minutes and 20 seconds. 3 feet of flats, about 180 pieces or 18 minutes. 3 feet of flats, about 180 pieces or 18 minutes. 3 feet of flats is 345 pieces. What did they put down? 180. 3 feet of flats is 345 pieces. It's 115 pieces per foot, right? They're saying that 3 feet of flats is 180 pieces on this piece of paper here that they put up. Or 18 minutes. 5 minutes to pull down, 5 minutes to get accountable mail. And punch to the street in 45 minutes. Do y'all know what this is? It's PET. It's PET. What does PET do? It takes out all of your office time. Every bit of your office time is what PET does. So they've guised this 45 minutes of office time under PET, right? That's what this is. You got 2 feet of letters, 17 minutes. You got 3 feet of flats, 18 minutes. 5 minutes to pull down. 5 minutes to get accountable mail. That's 45 minutes. This thing right here is PET. And I'm going to treat it as such. They have found a way to finagle PET back into the system. And this is it. We've dealt with PET 100 times on this podcast. We've dealt with it. I don't know how many episodes we got on PET. This is PET. So we're going to deal with it as such, okay? When you talk about fixed office time, you got, and this is just based off of the line items. Line 15, withdrawal of mail is 5 minutes. Now this is your fixed office time. This is everything that they cut out, because that right there, that's PET. You got 5 minutes to withdraw mail. Okay? Line 16, sequencing and collating mail. That's time spent collating and sequencing mail. You got strapping out time that took away. A break, 10 minutes. Vehicle inspection, 3 minutes minimum. Now, if y'all do that advanced safety check, advanced vehicle check, we did that before. Remember when I went down through there? That's going to be 10 minutes at least, at minimum. 10 minutes. It says vehicle inspection, 3 minutes. It doesn't take that into consideration. So you got so many things that are on your fixed office time that this cuts out. It doesn't take into account any of your fixed office time. I'm going to read a few things, and it's going to be lengthy, and I apologize. But we're going to beat this because we got them. When they put this out there, first off, they lied on these numbers. To get the proper linear measurement, and we're going to grieve this thing. 2 feet of letters, they got 313 pieces so that they could squeeze this into 45 minutes. So they lied to us on here because that's all they know how to do. So we're going to look at Chris Jackson, Director of City Delivery. He put together an NELC's guide to the performance engagement tool. Now, if you go on to from8arbitration.com, I'm gonna find the episode for you. Episode 52. Episode 52. JB does, and this is the best episode of all the episodes, okay, as far as education. It's the one JB did. It's episode 52. He deals with DOAS, PET, 3996's redline policies. That episode right there is going to help us more than any other episode I've ever done. It will help us more than any episode we have done, especially now, with what we're fixing to encounter with management. Episode 52. I would listen to that if I were you, new shop stewards, 50 times consecutively. I would listen to that until I couldn't listen to it any longer. I would just listen to that son of a bitch. Become an expert right now in DOAS, PET, 3996, and redline policy. Become an expert because this is where management will head. This is their fallback. You saw it in this right here where I just read that to you. That's PET. Okay? All of these things I'm fixing to read are on that episode. If you go to from8arbitration.com, episode 52, push read more, all these things will be on there for you to pull off and print. Okay? Every single one of these things, all the sites I'm fixing to touch on, all of that is on episode 52. But the biggest thing we got going right now, the biggest pressing matter that we have is 45 minutes office time. But you got them right here because they put it out. I don't know why they did it, but they itemized it for us. We'll say that's PET. They'll say it's not. That's what that is. That's what that is. So PET, you got, this is all on episode 52. NELC's Guide to Performance Engagement Tool. This is where they were hitting us really damn hard with PET. And it's Chris Jackson did this as Director of City Delivery. And I'm going to read a bunch. I apologize. I'm going to read a bunch, but this is critical. Performance Engagement Tool, PET, is the most recent computerized data generating program in a long list of previous programs designed by the Postal Service for use by its supervisors to project the daily workload of letter carriers. The way PET works is it attempts to compare a letter carrier's past street time performance and mail volumes with the current daily situation, and then uses that information to determine how long the program thinks it should take a letter carrier to perform his or her duties on the day. The office time projection generated by PET only considers how long it would take to case and pull down the day's volume of letters and flats based on 18 pieces per minute for casing letters, 8 pieces per minute for casing flats, and 70 pieces per minute for pulling down letters and flats combined. The office time projections does not allow for fixed office time. Remember that when you're grieving this right here. Does not allow for fixed office time to perform such necessarily daily functions as vehicle inspections, stand-up talks, retrieving mail from the throwback case, withdrawing mail, retrieving or signing for accountable mail, etc. If a station has an office break, in some locations that time will be factored into the equation, but some locations do not consider office breaks when making the projection. Now, PET, when you're going by PET, like management is here in this letter, in this thing that was put up, you're immediately behind the 8 ball. You can never catch up when management uses PET, ever. You're behind the 8 ball and you will stay there. And so this right here, where they talk about, does your route have 2 feet of letters and 3 feet of flats to case today? Fuck. I keep yawning. And so anytime I read a lot, I get sleepy. I don't know why, but I'm yawning now, so forgive me. But 2 feet of letters, 313 pieces. No, that's not accurate. 3 feet of flats, 180 pieces. And so they had to lie there to squeeze that into 45 minutes. 5 minutes to pull down. They did give you 5 minutes to get a Campbell mail. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, that's PET because it took out all your street time. And it'd be very easy to show an arbitrator that that's what that is. The street time is also projected differently in certain locations. In some offices, supervisors select one of 4 different street time options and apply that time to today's equation for PET to utilize in projecting the street time for that day. The 4 options are, now we're not dealing with street time. Now, when you look on PET, your street time, it never changes, regardless of volume. And they'll take that off the $39.99, the one-day ride. So if on your one-day ride, your street time was 6 hours and 40 minutes, every single day on PET will be 6 hours and 40 minutes. It doesn't matter if one day you have 6 feet of mail and the next you have 20 feet of mail. Every single day on PET, your street time is the same. 6 hours and 40 minutes, if that's what it was on your $39.99. So that's another reason we don't go by PET. In some parts of the country, the only street time option for supervisors to select are from the PS Form 3999 time or the base street time. That's what I was talking about. While USPS has instructed its supervisors to compare the mail volume for previous days to the current day when deciding which street time to select for PET, none of these projections take into account daily situations such as weather, parcel counts, traffic, construction, etc. Regardless of what option management chooses, the street time projected in PET starts when the incorrect office time ends, ensuring a misrepresentation of both office and street times. So here's how PET works. PET will only give you credit, like this letter here that was put up, for casing mail and pulling down mail. It will only give you credit for that. It takes out every bit of your office time, your fixed office time. That's the reason I say you're already behind the 8 ball when you come in under PET. You're already behind 33 minutes. And you will never catch up because they're going to project you leaving, just casing, and just pulling down. Then you'll always have the same street time. Whatever that $39.99 showed is your street time. Every single day. Through December, same street time. Never varies. Okay? And so that's what they're talking about here. Grievance advice. Depending on how management uses PET on the workroom floor, it is possible that some relevant contractual provisions and or settlements could be violated. As with any other grievance, a successful grievance challenging the misuse of PET should contain a proper issue statement, a detailed statement of the facts, a well-prepared series of contentions, the necessary documentation, and a proper remedy for the situation. Let's take a look at what a successful grievance challenging the misuse of such a projection tool may include. Provided below are some guidelines that can be used to help successfully grieve those instances where management has failed to adhere to our contract when using this program. Issue statements. A basic issue statement for the grievance involving management's misuse of PET should be at a minimum. Did management violate the interpretive step settlement dated September 16th, M1769, via Article 15 of the National Agreement when they, at the whatever station on this date, and what should the remedy be? Of course, each issue statement should be tailored to the particular violation, so you'll have to fill that in. Now, again, if you go to from8arbitration.com, episode 52, this will be on there. And then it'll have the facts. It's got the interpretive steps. That's why it will help. And all these things will be on there to print out. M1769, projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time. And we read that earlier. M1769 goes on to state, the resulting projections will not constitute the sole basis for corrective action and is violated when a letter carrier is disciplined based on a failure to meet PET. This other thing, carrier statements to include statements from others who may have heard the conversation between the letter carrier and supervisor, PET projections, base route information report, employee everything report, and I would take this picture of this letter here, this sign that was put up and put that in my file, okay? Because they can't get away from that. And then it goes on to 3996 stuff, which we don't need. But that would be very helpful. Then I got this offline. It's from July 2020. The Postal Record, Contract Talk, Time Projection Tools. Time Projection Tools. Recently, NALC received notification from USPS of a change to the Delivery Operations Information System, or DOIS, a time projection tool used in many locations by management to estimate the daily workload of city letter carriers. USPS informed NALC of its intent to reduce the amount of time allocated to parcel delivery from 90 to 60 seconds per parcel when DOIS estimates a route street time. This change to DOIS does not modify any contractual rights or handbook provisions for city letter carriers. Over the years, Postal Service has developed various tools to estimate the daily workload of letter carriers. Misuse of these tools by frontline supervisors has been the subject of multiple grievances that have risen to the national level. It is important for letter carriers and shop stewards to understand the national level settlements pertaining to time projection tools and how they relate to the use of these tools on the workroom floor. While the names have changed with each newly developed tool, what has not changed are the letter carrier's responsibilities and reporting requirements outlined in Handbook M39, Management of Delivery Services, and Handbook M41, City Delivery Carriers' Duties and Responsibilities. In the past, NALC has challenged the use of any projection derived from the use of these tools as the sole determinant of a carrier's daily workload or as the sole basis for disciplinary actions. These issues have been resolved in several national level settlements regarding time projection systems. This article discusses these settlements as well as the National Agreement and Postal Service Handbook provisions relating to USPS developed time projection tools. In 1979, NALC and USPS came to an agreement, M394, in NALC's Material Reference System, MERS, concerning the use of the Delivery Unit Volume Recording System, DUVRS. DUVRS was an early tool used to project office time for letter carriers. This settlement states that DUVRS will not constitute the basis for disciplinary action for failure to meet minimum standards, and that the program will not constitute the sole basis for a carrier's leaving time. That goes back to 79. In 2001, a national level settlement, M1444, was signed regarding 3 different projection systems. M1444 makes clear that these 3 projection systems will not constitute the sole basis for discipline and that no function performed by Post or DOIS now or in the future may violate the national agreement. The agreement also quotes Section 242.332 of Handbook M39, which states, "No carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards, except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented, unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards." And that will go to the other thing as well about changing our start times because our office time hadn't improved. M1444 also reinforced language agreed in on the 1985 national level settlement of M304 stating, "There's no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking." A 2007 settlement, M1664, protected letter carriers from management's use of DOIS time projections. That's going to go along with this here. PET, DOIS, the only difference is PET takes all your office time out. The parties agreed that DOIS projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. As such, the projections cannot be used as the sole basis for corrective action. The settlement also makes clear that the use of DOIS does not change the letter carrier's or the supervisor's responsibilities and requirements found in Handbook M39 and Handbook M41. In 2011, NALC and USPS settled a national level interpretive dispute over management's use of an office efficiency tool developed in the Greater Indiana District. This settlement, M1769, extends the same protections contained in M1664 to management's use of the office efficiency tool. That was the subject of this grievance. The terms of M1769 also are applicable to any management office or street time projection tool system currently in use or similar system tools developed in the future. The language states, the subject office efficiency tool is a management tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload. The office efficiency tool used in the Greater Indiana District or any similar time projection tool or tools will not be used as the sole determinant for establishing office or street time projections. Accordingly, the resulting projections will not constitute the sole basis for corrective action. This agreement does not change the principle that pursuant to Section 242.332 of the Handbook M39, no carrier shall be disciplined for failure to meet standards except in cases of unsatisfactory effort, which must be based on documented unacceptable conduct that led to the carrier's failure to meet office standards. Furthermore, as stated in the agreement for case there is no set pace which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. Then go down to the bottom. The Performance Engagement Tool, or PET, is the latest USPS computer program used by floor supervisors to project a carrier's daily workload, and that's exactly what that letter did that was put up. As with DOAS and the Office Efficiency Tool created by the Greater Indiana District, PET cannot be used as the sole determinant of a carrier's leave or daily workload. That's exactly what that letter did. NELC's Guide to Performance Engagement Tool was created to help local union representatives understand how PET works and to assist in filing successful grievances related to the improper use of the PET. You can find that on FromAidArbitration.com, episode 52. Okay? So it talks about PET. So what that is that I read to y'all is PET. 100% it's PET. Okay? Now when you file your grievance, you're going to put in there all of our fixed office time, what that contains. Okay? And I would put in there the vehicle inspection. It's vehicle inspection are often overlooked office duties. Letter carriers should be afforded time to properly inspect their delivery vehicle according to USPS Notice 76. Get online, find USPS Notice 76, Extended Vehicle Safety Check. Now remember, we went over that at length on one of my episodes on 6-Day Count. Every day before operating the vehicle, vehicle inspection should be performed as soon as possible after clocking in to allow letter carriers to promptly report vehicle deficiencies to management. These requirements are found in Section 832 and 842 of Handbook M41, which states, 832.1, inspect vehicle as described on Notice 76, Expanded Vehicle Safety Check. Make sure you print that off and put it in your contentions. For deficiencies, body damage or inoperable items, see Section 842 for reporting defects. And then it has that. So make sure you put that in there because this sign did not give you the opportunity to do that. That's one of the 33 minutes of fixed office time. Okay? Make sure you put that in there particularly because we're going to show that to an arbitrator. It's not going to make it because they're not going to send that up to an arbitrator, but we have to address it. If management's going to attack us with it, we've got to address it. And so, fortunately for us, they put that on there. They put those times in the volume. When they did that, we got them because that's PET. And that's what we can show an arbitrator. Look, it just takes our linear measurement, our volume, gives us casing time, pull down time. They threw in there 5 minutes of countable time, but that doesn't matter. That's PET. We'll very easily be able to prove that. Took all of our fixed office time out. I don't care if they said it's a goal. It took all of our stuff out. It says clock out in 45 minutes. That's what it's telling you to do. So I want to grieve that. Okay? Here's 2 sites for you, and I'm just going to read the award, okay, or the discussion. One is from Peter Clark, and I've read this before, but it's very good. It's 285.56 A and B. C, 285.56 A and B. Now this is lengthy, so you have to forgive me, but it's good. Discussion and opinion, NELC's position. The union argues that the Postal Service is violating the national agreement by using the DOIS numbers to determine the office and street time, leave and return times for the letter carriers. The union points out that the Postal Service is admitting to use the DOIS numbers to determine leave and return times for the carriers. See Joint Exhibit 2. The evidence establishes that imprecise piece count of flat and letter mail and DPS machine and flat sorting machine volumes are entered into DOIS computer program, which then prints out the workload status report. The DOIS numbers from the WSR is then recorded on placards at the carrier's cases. Now we have this letter. That's good as gold. We got this letter. We're going to say, here's our instruction for our 45 minutes of office time. They have misrepresented the linear measurement, first off, just to make sure they could squeeze that in to 45 minutes. So basically they lied to us about what it takes, which is beautiful for us, okay? The DOIS numbers from the WSR is then recorded on placards at the carrier's case. Again, we got that sign. The information includes letter volume and flat volume and leave and return times for the route that day. The Postal Service tries to hold carriers to DOIS numbers as close as possible. Now here you've got them under PET. All right? We can very easily show that's PET. You got casing volume, pull down time. Casing time, pull down time. Okay? So that very easily provable. DOIS M1664, which specifically states DOIS projections are not the sole determinant of a carrier's leaving or return time or daily workload. Moreover, by basing carrier office leave and street return times solely on DOIS numbers, the Postal Service is attempting to set new street standards and office standards for the carriers in violation of National Pre-Arbitration Settlement 1444. Now that's what's so beautiful. Management is attempting to set new office standards for us. 45 minutes of office time. Right? That's them trying to set a new office standard for us. 45 minutes based on what? Based on a casing time and a pull down time. Based off of inexact volume numbers. You understand what I'm saying? The letter itself lied to us based off of linear measurement. That's when you go up and you measure each bucket. One bucket, 115 pieces per foot, flats. They misrepresented that, and we can very easily prove that. But when they said that this goal, which is bullshit, is 45 minutes, it's based off of casing mail, pulling mail down. That's PET, all right? It specifically states, this is in 1444, specifically states in part, furthermore, the pre-arbitration settlement there dated October 22nd, 1985 provides that there is no set pace at which a carrier must walk and no street standard for walking. The pre-arbitration settlement also held it is additionally understood that the current city letter carrier route adjustment process is outlined in subchapter 141 and chapter 2 of the M39 handbook. All those functionalities in DOIS, which relate to the route inspection adjustment process, must be in compliance with these two parts of the M39 as long as they are in effect. The only agreed upon method of changing office or street standards is outlined in the M39 handbook. Now here's where you're going to have it in your issue statement. The Postal Service's insistence on trying to hold carriers to the DOIS projected office leave and the street return times violates the criteria set forth in the M39 handbook at see Joint Exhibit 2 at 26. M39 Handbook 242.311 states that under normal conditions, the office time allowance for each letter route shall be fixed at the lesser of the carrier's average time used to perform the office work during the count period, or the average standard allowable office time. In addition, M39 Handbook 242.321 provides for evaluation and adjustment purposes, the basis for determining the street time shall be either A, the average street time for the 7 weeks random time card analysis and the week following the week of count and inspection, or B, the average street time used during the week of count and inspection. The Postal Service failed to follow those provisions, and that has led to a hostile work environment for carriers. That's all you need, that one paragraph, okay? Management has come in and told us that we have a 45 minutes of office time. It's based off of linear measurement that is untrue and inaccurate. It's based off of a time allowance for sticking mail and a time allowance for pulling mail down. It has subtracted our fixed office time. That's in violation of those things there. So get C-285-56 A and B. Again, this is on episode 52 from 8arbitration.com. But it's 285-56. C-285-56 A and B. It's Peter Clark. Okay? He tells you right there what your issue statement should be. And also those step 4s. In particular, carriers have complained about how stressful the environment is since Supervisor Davis has utilized the DOS numbers to determine the leave and return times. The carriers felt badgered, bullied, and harassed. PM Hansen has also threatened the carriers with possible termination if they don't meet the DOS numbers. In all, the improper use of DOS as the sole factor of determining carriers' leave time and return time and the manner in which postal management interacts with the carriers regarding their DOS numbers violates the national agreement. The Postal Service should be required to cease and desist from using DOS and from creating a hostile work environment for carriers. And Peter Clark goes on to find them in violation of DOS and also creating a hostile work environment by how they implemented it. Okay? So get that one. It's C-285-56. It's on episode 52. That will be a fantastic decision for you, because if you're wondering how you're even going to grieve the damn thing, that's got exactly what your issue statement should be. Here's another one from Sherry Rose Talmadge. And this one's not near as long. But it's the same thing. Management violated Article 5, 19, and 41 by using PET based on 139.99 to establish a demonstrated street time. Also, management shall cease and desist from violating Articles 5, 19, and 41 by utilizing the PET as the sole measurement of determining route times instead of the official methods according to handbooks M39 and M41. And I'm going to read the discussion. At issue is whether management violated Articles 5, 19, and 41 by using the PET based on 139.99 to establish a demonstrated street time by which carriers are expected to perform on a daily basis. The union met its burden of proof in this matter. The union acknowledged that management has the ability to develop and utilize tools such as PET, consistent with the national agreement to evaluate and manage the floor. The narrow issue in this matter is which PET was applied to the carriers during the month of April 2016. The parties have established the method for evaluating city letter carrier routes as defined in Chapter 2 of the M39 and Chapter 9 of the M41, which developed a method of averages for route evaluations. The PET is a management efficiency tool for estimating a carrier's daily workload, which uses an exact number of hours from one distinct day. The PET derives its information from DOS. Although management has the right to utilize this efficiency tool to assist in its assessment of the carrier's workload and auxiliary assistance request, as noted in a number of Step 4 settlements, the PET cannot be the sole basis for disapproving auxiliary assistance request or approving more time than requested. The September 16th Step 4 M1769 provides that any similar time projection system will not be used as the sole determinant for establishing office, street time, or daily workload. And I'm not going to read that again. I've already read it twice. The November 14, 2005 Step 4 M1624 emphasizes that the DOS projected leave time cannot be the sole basis for disapproving auxiliary assistance request or approving more time than requested. So there's you some more good contractual language. John Carlson, Program Analysis for the Eastern Area, who wrote the PowerPoint using for the training of the PET, testified that the program's purpose is to assist supervisors in communicating with the letter carriers regarding work expectations. Now, this sign is not a work expectation. This tells you got 45 minutes of office time. Okay? It's telling you you've got 45 minutes. This is not a discussion between us and management. regarding our work expectation. This is telling you've got 45 minutes of office time based on inaccurate linear measurements. Okay? This is no discussion, which Pet would say, always tell you, you must have a discussion with Pet, right? And that failed miserably. Carlson testified that the PET does not make projections. It is information for the supervisor to evaluate the PS Form 3996 request for auxiliary assistance. Carlson testified that this information is intended to help the supervisor engage in a better conversation with the carrier who can explain why he or she may need extra time. Then, based on the information from PET and the conversation with the carrier, the supervisor can tell the carrier when are the expected leave and return times. We had no such thing here. There was no conversation. There was no discussion. There was a sign put up, 45 minutes of office time, based off of what? An inexact, inaccurate linear measurement, casing, pull down. That's PET. In the present case on February 17, 2016, Supervisor Swanson was detailed to the Orchard Garden facility on April 1. When the PET became available at the facility, he began to utilize this tool with the carriers. Swanson began utilizing the information derived from PET to establish a street time projection for the carriers' routes, rather than using it as only one of his tools and involving the carriers in a conversation about his mail volume and other variables such as the makeup of the mail, percentage of delivery, or weather conditions before the carrier left for the street. By using the PET for the sole street time projections, Swanson did not evaluate requests for assistance, PS Form 3996, and assess any unusual circumstances or conditions that may have occurred. His use of PET to establish a street time projection for the carrier's routes and failure to have a conversation with the carriers about their variables prior to the carriers leaving for the street violated the terms of Articles 19 and 41 of the National Agreement. This unilateral change in the manner for establishing street time projections and assessing auxiliary assistance, which affected hours and other terms and conditions of employment, as defined in Section 8D of the NLRA, violated the terms of Article 5. Get this decision, okay? 32693. And that's going to tell you everything you need to know as well. If you're a new shop steward, get those two decisions. It's going to tell you the contractual provisions that you need. Article 5, Article 19. You got the M39, M41 that's going to fall under the purview of Article 19. You got those Step 4s. This sign that they put up was what we were waiting for. That's the reason I took so long on this. And I hate reading. Hell, you can tell my tongue got tired. But that's what we were waiting on. We were waiting for management to make the mistake of putting up things like that. When they do that, you've got to take advantage. And that's what we're going to do. That's the reason I read all that shit. When they do that, you've got to pounce on them. And that's what we're going to do. When they put that up, that's PET. It will very easily be proven. Why? Because PET only counts for casing, pull down. Now, they can put in 5 minutes of accountable. That doesn't matter. Okay? That doesn't matter. It excluded all of our fixed office time. All right? And so these 45 minutes of office time, when they say that, I would put in an information request and ask where they're getting the 45 minutes office time from. Okay? Well, we've got to start attacking these things. We did episodes years ago on the hour office time, trying to help out. It's 45 minutes everywhere because the hour works so well. Now it's 45 minutes. It's taking out all of our office time, fixed office time. The only thing that can be is PET. Okay? So, all right. There you have it. There's this week's episode. A lot of reading. I apologize, but I had to get those things done. Next Sunday, it'll be the same thing. Got a lot of stuff I'm going to cover next Sunday that I couldn't this Sunday because it'd take 4 hours, and my tongue's tired. And so, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week, okay? Fantastic rest of the week. I'll be out delivering this week in some good weather. I think it's going to rain later on this week, but that's all right. We need that every once in a while. But, yeah, we're having a blast, man, traveling the country. I know a lot of people, it pisses them off, But we're campaigning. We're going to get out and meet our people, period. And we're going to do fundraisers, right? Because we need money to put out that mailing. That pisses people off too, that we're asking for money. But it costs money. It costs money. We're going to take over this union come next year. Doesn't matter who likes it, who dislikes it, we're taking over. We're going to turn this thing back over to the city letter care and put them first. We're going to educate the workroom floor. And we're going to take control of the toxic working environment. James Henry is a beast right now. They don't know what to do with him. They have no idea what to, they're coming out with all kind of shit. He is focused on winning. And that dude is something else, man. Something else. Listening to him, the conversations we have, how excited and fired up I get for what he's fixing to do with the city letter care. James is focused on winning. Everybody else focused on James. That's a great spot to be in. But hey, better days are coming, Light Blue. I promise you. Better days are coming. We'll have a get out the vote campaign like never before, okay? We'll have one. We're going to get everybody activated. We got a lot of people out there doing work for us, which I can't thank them enough. A lot of organizers, business agents and things coming on. A fantastic slate. And we cannot wait. We cannot wait to take over and start running roughshod over management like we should be doing now. But hell, we're sitting at the table sipping tea with these bastards. But anyway, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. I love y'all very much. I love you, Light Blue. And I cannot wait to get in there and start fighting for you. All right? Y'all take care. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Y'all be safe out there. And I'll talk to y'all next Sunday. All right?